Welcome back, strangers. On the day of her disappearance, Joan Hansen was on the phone with a friend when she suddenly said, "Oh my god, he's in the basement. He's coming." She screamed and the line went dead. Her friend kept trying to call her back until finally Joan's husband answered. When her friend asked where Joan was, he simply replied, "She's with you," and hung up. Joan was never heard from again. What happened to her? Joan was last seen on August 29, 1966, in the town of Lincoln, Massachusetts, and was reported missing by her husband the following day. Despite extensive searches and investigations, no trace of Joan has ever been found, and the circumstances surrounding her disappearance remain a mystery. Joan disappeared 3 months after filing for divorce and 2 days after securing a restraining order against her husband, Robert Hansen, that required him to move out of the house so that Joan could move back in. Robert was never charged with murder due to lack of evidence, and their children grew up believing that their mother had abandoned them. After Joan's disappearance, Robert racked up a bunch of assault and property damage charges, and police even briefly suspected that he may be the Green River Killer, a serial killer of prostitutes in the Seattle-Tacoma area who was responsible for numerous disappearances. However, the Green River Killer was eventually identified as Gary Ridgway. Robert died by suicide in August of 2009, leaving an estate worth over $5 million. He was 84 years old and he had never faced a formal investigation into his wife's disappearance. In his will, Robert wrote that Joan had disappeared years ago, and if she was alive, she was to inherit nothing. He also disinherited his children, and by the time of his death, he had been estranged from them for years. In December 2009, his sons filed a wrongful death suit against his estate, alleging he caused their mother's death. They were awarded $100,000 in damages. For years after her disappearance, there were rumors that Joan's body was buried beneath a barn on a farm in the Kent Valley along the Green River on property that the Hansen family had once owned. The barn had originally had a dirt floor, but a concrete floor was conveniently poured around the time of her disappearance. The building has since been demolished and a road has been built over top of it where it used to be. In 2006, Joan's sons requested that investigators examine the road with ground-penetrating radar. However, no evidence was found, and Joan's case remains unsolved. There are several theories about the disappearance of Joan Hansen. One of the most popular is that Joan Hansen was the victim of foul play by someone she knew or by a stranger. Some have speculated that she may have been murdered or kidnapped, with one of the prime suspects being her husband. Seems like the obvious choice. He obviously had something against her. They had a restraining order, going through divorce. The police even at one time thought he was a serial killer involved in other crimes. But no, he was never formally charged, never investigated further. Another theory is that Joan Hansen may have died as a result of an accident, such as a fall or a car crash. Some have suggested that her body may have been disposed of in a way that it has not yet been discovered. Others believe that Joan Hansen may have simply run away from her home or just voluntarily disappeared for personal reasons. She was unhappy in her marriage, and she may have been facing other personal and financial problems, and she may have felt the only way to truly start fresh would be disappear and leave everything behind and become a new person. Would you blame her? There's one final theory that Joan may have suffered from amnesia and was unable to remember herself and just fumbled through the rest of her life not knowing who she was or where she was. What do you think happened to Joan? Do you think her husband Robert was innocent and her disappearance was the result of one of the other popular theories? Thanks for watching, strangers. Please leave a like, comment, and subscribe if you enjoyed this case. And as always, stay strange.